The Forum at 8 with Xolani Gwala.
All right, it is 8 minutes after 8. We say good morning to you. Welcome to the Forum at 8 here on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader. Just getting ready for the discussion on what is happening at the Lonmin's Marikana mine, where, of course, we heard that the death toll has risen to 10 now after one body was also discovered late yesterday afternoon. You would have, and I hope you did, hear just a little bit of an interview that we had with Minister Susan Shabangu. She says this emanates from a bargaining issue, and the people involved, of course, will explain to us how this happens. Actually, let me just go straight ahead then and introduce our guests on the program at this time. I'm going to start with the National Union of Mine Workers president, who's here with me in studio, Senzeni Zogwana. A very good morning to you, sir. I thank you for your time.
Morning, Xolani. Morning to the listeners.
Thanks indeed. Also, I'm joined here in the studio by Joseph Matunjwa. He is the president of the Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union, AMCU. A very good morning to you, Mr. Matunjwa.
Good morning and good morning to the listeners.
Thanks indeed. In our Pretoria studios, we are joined there by Mr. Bernard Mukwena. He is Executive Vice President, Human Capital and External Affairs at Lonmin. Mr. Mukwena, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Thanks indeed. All right, perhaps I should start with you, Mr. Mukwena, because as I mentioned, I spoke to the mining minister just a short while ago. She says the matter started as a bargaining issue. Tell me what happened.
Well, what happened Friday, a week ago, we saw groups of employees, mainly rock drill operators, who were gathering at our stadium, and we then triggered our security and the police because we became suspicious that they may have been gathering there for a meeting, which we were obviously not aware of, because all union meetings get authorized, and they normally happen in the afternoon, not in the morning. So the police obviously arrived and spoke to the crowd, and the crowd had grown big, estimated to be in the region of 3,000 people. They then persisted and marched from the stadium to our offices. The police guarded them, and marching and toying and shouting and singing. At no point did we receive any memorandum or piece of paper to say this is who we are and these are our concerns. Somewhere towards mid-morning, they then were dispersed by the police. That's when it all started. How do we know these people? We know that they were mainly rock drill operators, because our system can detect who is at work and who's not at work. And rock drill operators, obviously, the core of mining, and if they don't show up at work, there is no mining, because we need them to drill the rock before we blast and do the rest of mining. So it was very obvious and very clear that this was a group of rock drill operators. So they didn't leave us with anything, any piece of paper or their concerns or grievances, and they were dispersed. That's how it all started on Friday.
And this was an illegal strike?
It was, of course, illegal. They had literally broken all laws. And I need to emphasize this, because there seems to be a tendency to disregard everything and talk about what needs to happen and forget the fact that these people have broken law, okay? From the beginning, they didn't obtain any permission in terms of Public Gatherings Act. They had absolutely no respect for existing company procedures in terms of mass meetings, and absolutely no regard for prescripts of Labor Relations Act in terms of the rights of workers. Right. So that's how it all started, yeah.
Sure. Mr. Mugana, let me come here into the studio. Then, Mr. Matunjwa, do you know these people who were marching on Friday? Are they your members?
According to us, it's a workers.
Who are they, your members or not?
Some of them are members, but you cannot say it's only AMCO members, because this march was not convened by AMCO, but are the workers themselves who arrange this march.
So your union didn't know anything about this march?
Our union did know about this march. How we happen to know about it is because Mr. Bernard himself, he phoned me personally 2 weeks ago and saying to me that they are a group of workers who are intending to serve them with a list of demand. Then I told him, I said, quickly arrange a high-level meeting with all the leaders of the union, including NUM, ourselves, Solidarity, and UESA, in order to look at those demands and be confined within the structures of the union. And he said to me, he's still going to speak to Mr. Franz Balen, who is the General Secretary of NUM. I waited for 2 weeks, nothing happened. On the 10th, I also received a call from him that there are workers who are marching to his office. He will be arranging the SAPS to receive that memorandum. I then advised him that upon receipt of the very same memorandum, make sure that you convene an agent meeting with the stakeholders, as I proposed 2 weeks ago, which that meeting, it never took place. Make sure that you call the meeting in order to deal with that memorandum with whatever is in the in the memorandum.
All right. So when all of this is happening, you hadn't heard anything from your membership. In other words, you were only informed by the company that there's a march. Your members hadn't told you that there will be marching.
In the mass meeting that we normally have at the mine, there was nothing such that was raised according to the branch structures of the union. I only knew from the management that there is an intention from the workers.
And you never bothered to ask your branch chairperson, branch leaders, whether they are part of this march?
We did ask in terms of what is really happening. They are saying, as part of this, they went to management and say, yes, they did hear that there will be some workers who are bringing sort of a memorandum to them. Please invite us into these processes. But the management, what they did, they neglected all the structures of the union and engaged those employees outside the structures of the union.
All right, I'm going to come back to Mr. Zogwana just to find out then at what point does his union get involved. But again, Mr. Mokoena, it appears you knew that something like this was happening 2 weeks prior.
It's amazing how Joseph could lie before South African public with 10 people dead. He is insinuating he knew.
He is also insinuating that you knew and you called him. You called him 2 weeks ago to say there are these rumors, there's murmurs that people will be marching.
No. He's twisting the truth at the expense of 10 lives. There are no engagements. We have not engaged these groups of people, and it is still our position. We will not engage people who engage in criminal activity.
Okay, but
outside
let's establish the facts, Mr. Mokoena. You never called Mr. Matendra 2 weeks ago to say that you have heard people will be marching. You never did that.
I called Mr. Joseph Mtinjwa on issues not related to what is happening now. What happened on Friday took us by surprise. People grouped and marched.
I think maybe I cannot respond whether you're calling me a lie or whatsoever, but the fact...
He says what you're saying is a lie. That's what he says. It's clear.
I mean, Mr. Mokoena, we respect you. You called me 2 weeks ago, and I even confirmed the very same conversation with Jomo Kwad at your mine. And Jomo confirmed that, yes, you have phoned him and told him that he was speaking to myself. And I advise you, I said, Mr. Mokoena, call NUM leadership and also call UESA and everyone in terms to deal with those issues. But you never. And secondly, you are misleading the public by saying you never engaged those employees. You offered them 700 rand. That was your management who offered them 700 rand.
When was this?
I think was maybe those 2 weeks ago, but there was in terms of our union structures at the mine, they said the management did engage. They even said let them form a delegation to engage those workers, and then the offer was made, which was 700 rand. But today is misleading the public as if nothing has happened.
Mr. Mokoena, I'm going to continue, Mr. Zuman.
Mr. Joseph Kolani, in the mining industry, we have what we call industry bonuses for different categories of employees, and those are prerogative of management. Why would anybody fight if they were paid money? For starters, it doesn't make sense to me that if employees were given a market allowance, they are fighting and killing.
Okay, but did you offer them anything in the past 2 weeks or so?
That's a market allowance, which is common to all categories
The
of
very
employees.
same workers that
it's
actually
not
we're talking
negotiated.
about. All right,
Yeah.
the very same workers. So in other words,
Yes.
they did engage you. They did come to you. They raised their concerns, and you offered them
No,
700 rand.
no. Those market allowances are prerogative of management. They are done throughout the year to different categories. It was not a demand. They never demanded to get market allowance.
How many
So-
workers did you give 700 rand?
Well, we're talking about 4,200.
The very same
across the
workers who are
operation.
out on strike, the very same rock drill operators, are they the same people that you offered?
Well, it's
700
rock
rand?
drill operators, it's assistant rock drill operators, it is a whole category of rock drill operators.
All
in
right.
the, yeah.
Fine, I'm going to come back on this issue, to this issue. Let me bring in Mr. Zogwana. At what point then does the NUM get involved?
As a union, we've got structures on the branch, and NUM for 30 years we've been engaged in negotiations with employers. We never send members to demand for anything. It is members who will give a mandate to their leaders, and leaders will formally approach management.
Sure.
Meetings will be arranged. We don't plunge members to go and march before we put demands.
Okay, but again, I'm going to come back to this issue. 2 weeks ago, there was talk that there will be this march. Did the NUM know anything about those talks?
NUM was never part of any plan for any march.
On Friday, were NUM members part of the march that took place?
Machine drillers were part. Obviously, maybe some NUM members were part of that, maybe have been part of that. But NUM as a union, we have never sanctioned the march. We're not even aware that there was going to be a march. We're caught by surprise that people marched on that day.
Now, a little earlier on, there was a witness who spoke to one of our reporters. He says there was a march on Friday, and when we went past the offices of the NUM, something like that, we were fired upon. What happened?
You know, when people tell lies, after 10 lives of innocent people, men in uniform gunned down. I've never seen that happen in Xolani, that as we speak today, we are so bold to tell lies. When
Who's
people,
telling lies?
I think I'm not telling the truth.
Okay, what happened?
The
Tell
fact
me
is
the
that
truth.
the security guys of management were requested by NUM to go and guard our offices after the meeting was held in the stadium
On Friday.
on Friday. And those security guys were the people who were at the offices. 2 of the security guys were killed by what I will call AMCU and organized march
On Friday.
at NUM offices, yes.
How were they killed?
They were in their cars. The guys came and they stabbed them and they bent those cars. I saw one of the cars being pulled from the shaft.
And they were burnt by AMCU members.
I believe now, having heard from the president of AMCO that AMCO instigated this march. It is the style they've been using before. They did this thing in
Mr.
Impala.
Muthinji.
They are doing it again.
Mr. Muthinji?
Let's put this thing into perspective. One was the issue of management engaging the workers outside the structures of the union. Secondly, we proposed a meeting with management. They ignored us. But on Sunday, the same management invited the president of NUM, invited UESA, invited Solidarity in absentia of AMCO.
That was which Sunday?
The past Sunday.
Not this Sunday. Is it after the violence had started?
Yes,
Because the violence started on Friday.
Yes, started on Friday. The very same
So
Sunday.
that was after the 2 security guards had been killed by AMCO members, according to Mr. Zogwan.
There is no AMCO member who has killed.
He says in front of you that AMCO instigated this violence.
I mean, he's an adult. I cannot say he's lying, but that is not correct what he's saying, because even himself before you, he just mentioned that, yes, the part of NUM members are part of the marchers. So how did he identify that? But the point that we knew, when I was asking the management, asking our intervention on Monday, then I asked them, why is only AMCO is called? They said, no, we already met with Mr. Zogwane, the president of NUM. I said,
On Sunday.
Sunday.
But I want to go back to Friday. Sorry, I want to go back to Friday
Yes,
because I
come to
want
Friday.
your view about who killed the 2 security
Right.
guards on Friday.
The security guard were not killed on Sunday.
On Saturday. Who killed them on Saturday?
I don't know who killed, but let's come on the issue of Friday.
Wait.
On Friday,
Yeah.
the marchers, as they were marching to gather at the stadium, passing NUM offices, guys came out of the offices of NUM wearing the T-shirts of NUM, and some driving a Kumbi, fired at the workers. And that was confirmed. We went, our general secretary went to those workers who were at the mountain And the management said there mustn't be anyone must go there because of life. We said, our general secretary said, we cannot sit here whereas people are losing life. We need to go and find out what is happening. And the people confirmed that we were shot by NUM and the demands were not directed to NUM. NUM is not a company, but we were surprised when they were killing us.
Were they marching to the NUM offices?
They were passing
offices?
union NUM offices to the stadium is where then they were shot by NUM. Now they are twisting the whole thing now and portray the issue as if it's AMCO who's orchestrated the march.
I'm sorry, Kolani. You know, with due respect, the president of is quite economic with the truth. The NUM office is next to the hostel. If people were marching to the stadium, there was no need for them to go to the NUM offices. This further confirms my view that AMCO was behind the march. The fact that their general secretary to go to the mountain to address workers who even the police could not approach proves that AMCO was behind this march. And I believe that
again, we need to establish the facts, and I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Mutinjwa, about why then you chose to march past NUM. But did NUM securities fire at the people marching?
There was no firing at anybody on Friday. NUM, after we became aware that these people, because this is a trend, Kolani, AMCO has closed the offices in Impala. We knew very well that this strike or this so-called march was only employed to dislodge NUM because they could not out-organize us on the mine in using proper, normal organizing tools. Then we said to the mine, can you please make sure that security is available? And those poor security guys were killed over this weekend while guarding the NUM offices. Let me explain even this thing of him saying I was invited by management. On Sunday. When I heard the extent that his members were descending the mountain towards the hostel, armed, I drove to Rassenbeck. Nobody invited me. I was concerned. On arrival, I told that on that same Sunday, 2 security guards were guarding our offices, were killed in their cars. And the fact that their secretary could go to nobody from NUM addressed the strikers. Only AMCO did. It means therefore AMCO knew of the fact that there was a strike planned. And the reason they could go and address them is because they knew the planning and of course, how do you don't know why they're striking?
We are a union that is got a concern of the lives of the people. The reason, if you are the leader, you have to take a certain decision and you have to take a certain step in order to show your leadership. By attending to those employees was not because we orchestrated the march, is because we are a responsible union. That was the reason. It's not that because the march was orchestrated by us. And when we went to the mountain, we never addressed the issue of AMCO. And we were advised that when you go to that mountain, you mustn't shout any slogan of any union because these are the workers who are on strike. Hence, then we take that risk. And then when we got there, they told our general secretary openly that the reason we are here is because we were shot by NUM. And then the issue of Saturday, when these people were asking management why you didn't intervene when NUM was shooting at us, there was no answer. And the issue of Mr. Zowane portraying himself as a guardian angel that he left to arresting, Mr. Jomo Kwari confirmed that they called NUM Solidarity and USA on Sunday about these issues. When then I asked, I tried for several weeks to get this meeting, on the ground, but nothing. But at the expense of what has happened, you only call NUM. What was the reason behind? The fact of the matter, the incident, even the management is shy to mention, is that the incident of violence started on Friday. They counting the Saturday because they knew that even on Friday, NUM shot at the workers. And I asked Jomo Kwadi, what happened on Friday? Why people were shot? They said, yes, we heard about that. We are still investigating.
Mr. Zwan? I'm going to come to you, Mr. Mokoena, in a second.
I want to say that what we need to do at this day is to say to those families who have lost their next of kin, NUM is sorry. Because we're sorry not because we believe that we participated in their killing. The fact that AMCU was the only union up to now who were able to address those workers proves beyond doubt that AMCU was behind this plan. I'm saying so because after the GS of AMCU went to address those workers, 8 more lives were lost. The question, therefore, is if the aim was to go to the mountains to quell this violence, why was it that violence continued beyond their own meeting with those workers? By the way, again, if I were to address any mass meeting, I need a legal permit. If it is on the mine premises, it will be to the mine from the mine leaders.
Okay.
If it is going to be in the public space, I will need that permission from the police.
If you're gonna, that's the procedure. Is that the procedure that you've got to get permission if you're going to address anything?
Yes.
Once the union.
Let's get Mr. Mokoena. Yes, Mr. Mokoena.
All right.
I must express my horror at the amount of allegations when we have 10 people dead, Kolani, and it's very sad. We're not giving South Africans hope. We are fueling more tensions and more violence as we sit here and throw allegations at one another.
Sure, but
there are rules.
Part of this, though, is that somebody must take responsibility.
Exactly,
Mr.
Kolani. That's why there are rules in this country that determine any public gathering. There are rules established by organizations that are agreed by unions. At Lonmin, we have rules that govern union activity, mass meetings. Now, Friday, none of the rules were observed, not one. And the question is, this is for the first time in the history of organization that workers who know these rules disregarded all these rules. So, why did the workers disregard the rules?
Okay. But let's start with the rules then, because part of what needs to happen at any workplace is that unions must be recognized. Are these two unions recognized?
Yes. Let me explain the following.
Yeah.
As we speak now, we have 4 unions at Lonmin with full organizational rights. NAM is the majority union at Lonmin. They have full organizational rights, bargaining rights. We have UASA, we have Solidarity, we have SAPAU. And then we have AMCU, which came to Lonmin about a year ago. They have members at one section of our operation where they are the majority. But on the bigger scale of things at Lonmin, they don't have the numbers to give them the rights, the full rights. We agreed with AMCU, with Joseph, that because we have the majority members at Kari, we will allow you to represent your workers when there are grievances. It's a constitutional right. Okay. We made that very clear.
All right.
We also said to AMCU, we will also give you an office space because we have more than 5,000 members. We would be irresponsible not to give you a little office where they can come and report issues, where they can meet the leadership.
Okay.
The third one, Kolani, very important. Yeah. We gave AMCU the right also to have meetings and gave them a copy of the rules applicable to other unions. You need to advise us 3 days in advance for mass meetings, and mass meetings are held only in the afternoon, not to disrupt the operations. That's how it is. Now,
okay,
what's
Mr.
difficult
Mokoena, all right, fine. I understand the rules. What I'll do is I'll take updates. But again, I'm going to go back to the question that was raised. Then what did the company do from Friday? What was the company's responsibility when this started on Friday? What interventions were then made by the company? But also, I'm going to come back to my guest here in the studio. I'll take calls as well. 0891 104 28. I already have Tsepo in Tladi. I've got Litsepa in Johannesburg and Olis in Pumalanga. A couple of SMSs at 34701 and emails at gwalax@sabc.co.za. But first, let's go to Vabakshni for the very latest news headlines.
The Forum at 8 with Xolani Gwala.
It is 26 now to 9 to 12, Morning Talk here on SAFM. Isaac Patla in for Sigelelo Mkabateli on Morning Talk then. For now, though, we are talking about the brutal murder of 10 people at Lonmin's Marikana mine. And of course, the mine has since been closed. At least certain operations have been closed. And we're just trying to find a solution because it appears as if tension is still all over that particular place. We are chatting this morning to Mr. Senzeni Zogwana. He is the NUM president. Also here with me in studio, Joseph Matunjwa. He is the president of the Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union, AMCU, as well as Mr. Bernard Mukwena, executive vice president of Human Capital and External Affairs at Lonmin. I will be taking your calls now on 0891 10428. But again, I threw out a question just before the news headlines for Mr. Mukwena, really, because what we heard from Joseph a little earlier on was that the company from Friday perhaps just stood by and didn't do anything in terms of intervention. What did you do?
Again, it's amazing that Joseph makes such allegations. We had police in the morning, Friday morning. We called the police. And we wanted the police to do their job. There are people marching illegally and all that. The police were there from the word go, early Friday morning at the stadium. That's one. Secondly, Kolani, we've been to court to obtain a court interdict. We've done all legal requirements and we have met them. So for him to suggest that we have done nothing, we have called the police. There is an illegal activity happening.
Okay, maybe what we need to do is to find out from Joe, what else should the company have done?
For 2 weeks ago, we requested a meeting, which is what is denying today. Subsequent to that, I wrote a letter to him and suggesting the very same meeting that called the union intervention at the highest level of the offices of the union. He never responded to that letter. After I spoke to him when he was telling me that there will be a march, I said, and he said to me, the SAPS will be receiving the very same memorandum. I said, upon receive that memorandum, set up an agent meeting, which I proposed 2 weeks ago, which it never materialized.
So in other words, you're blaming the company for the 10 people that I did?
I mean, I'll squarely, blame, on them because one, we advised them that they must call the meeting 2 weeks ago. Nothing happened. They engaged those RDO's delegation by their permission. They made an offer to them outside the structures. But of the
issue
union.
is, and perhaps the issue is, and this has come through here, is that at the heart of this is the volatile relationship between yourselves as AMCU and NUM.
We as AMCO, we never have anything. We just recruit members. I heard the president of NUM, with due respect, making such a vague, allegation of...
And he's making reference to implants earlier on this year as well, where 4 people died in also violence related to the 2 unions.
All right. Let's take it from the history. Who was fighting Mouthpiece? Was any AMCO by those days when there was a Mouthpiece in Northwest?
Who was fighting Mouthpiece? Tell me.
There was NUM and Mouthpiece were fighting there. They've got a history of such. And secondly, all the mines from ARM into Rivers Platinum, we get rid of NUM peacefully in terms of membership. In Thorncliffe, one of the extractor mine, we are the majority union. There is no incident there. So I don't know why should now they blame AMCO. As we speak now at Impala, they are standing about maybe 13, if not 15%. Workers are still joining AMCO openly. So where is the intimidation?
You're saying the violent party is NUM here?
NUM is failing to address the workers' issues. If I can recall or put on record now, the workers with their 30 years that they are keep on telling the world that they are the big union, 30 years service, how can the employees at the mines, at the platinum, they are still earning 4,000 rand?
What I don't understand is... if the union is failing me, I move to another union. I don't become violent. Why is there violence?
It's because they are losing ground. And now they portray AMCO as the instigators of the violence.
Do you accept, though, that is what is at the heart of this violence? That it's actually the issue between NUM and AMCO here?
On Friday was evident when the workers demanded what they want from the employer, and the NUM intervene by shooting at those workers randomly, so because already it must be reminded that the very same management has served the UNUM.
Fine, let's give Mr. Zwana a chance.
Thanks, Colin. You know, it doesn't matter how many times a lie is repeated. It can never change with the truth. For one, it is clear that only AMCU was aware of the planned march 2 weeks ago. The president of AMCU have said to the public.
Not that we were aware of the plan of the march. We were aware of the demands alerted by the management.
All right, fine, we'll get to that. Because
I want to say again, AMCU was aware of the planned march.
Not of the planned march.
They were aware of the planned demands. And let me say that as NUM, we don't want any picture given that NUM is fighting with AMCU. We're not thugs, Kolani. We believe that in this country, people have got a right to associate to any organ with their choice.
Sure, and I've heard NUM say that, but my worry is that at Implats it was the 2 unions. Now at Lonmin it is the 2 unions. So certainly there's enough evidence to suggest that there is a problem between NUM and AMCU.
There's no problem with NUM because we don't regard AMCU as a problem to deal with. Our task is to organize members and improve their employment, and always our focus will be on the employer. AMCU have chosen, out of their own volition, to use violence as a weapon and to use intimidation. We have had marches in this country. We have engaged employers. In all those marches, nobody has been killed. Let me look at this, maybe that the GS of AMCU went to address these workers at the mountain. Did he engage management thereafter on the demands of the workers that they put to him?
They did. No. They did engage the management.
I want to put it because he is claiming in the public that management has not come and not called AMCU at all. And yet he is saying on Sunday, when I was in Lonmin with management and other unions, they were at the mountains with workers, and they left there at about 7. I never heard that AMCU has gone back to management to report or to present any solution.
Can we ask
and to the public, my view is this, that everybody who may have been implicated in this violence that led to 10 lives being lost should face the wrath of the law.
And who is that everybody? That's what we're trying to identify. People must come out and people must be arrested.
I put it to say, NUM was not involved in any violence. We did not organize people to be in the mountains.
Can you prove that your members were not involved as NUM in both the shootings that happened on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the death of all these 10 people? Can you prove that?
I can assure you that NUM was not part of that, Kolani. NUM would never ever go so low as to kill people.
But, fine, and I accept that as a principle.
In this instance, I have been on the mine. Our guys are already on the mine. This morning, they meet management to analyze the secrets because they are concerned. We were not part of that much planning. We are not part of killing people. Here's something, Mr. Zwana, because you said to me earlier on that it is possible that your members were, but NUM management did not participate itself. So it is possible that your members may have been part of the violence that's been going on. No, Colin. As we speak today, Colin, our leaders of NUM, our shop stewards, have left that mine because their lives were threatened as well. NUM is not part of this thing at all.
Always NUM is a victim.
But in this case, Kolani,
it's a victim.
Only AMCU leadership.
Okay, fine. Because let me say, you know what I need to do, though, and we need to come with a solution because even this moment there is tension there, Mr. Mukwena. I agree with you. And what I would like, and I'm going to take some calls, but I would like us to come to a point where we say, from here, what is AMCU going to go and say to the members? What is NUM going to go and say to the members? What is the company going to go and say to the employers, to the employees? That's what I would like us to get to. But let me take 1 or 2 calls. I'm going to come back to that. And we have to be responsible about this issue. And we've got to make certain statements that, in fact, will... Because 10 people. And those are breadwinners, gentlemen. Those have families. 2 police officers were killed in this guy. Another one seriously injured. Somebody must take responsibility. And also the statements that are being uttered must be responsible.